folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this episode we're going to continue to work on the RF-85. And you might remember that last time we had a serious spin on the track. A bolt broke off on the back on the space frame towards the bell housing. We also had some oil leak that developed, and we had a fuel leak that had been developed. So we'll have to take the rear part off the car and see what all this is about and get it fixed. So that means we will have to remove the rear part of the car, so that is the bell housing and the oil reservoir, together with the gearbox, the differential, the rear axle, the rear wheels. We need to split all that off of the engine. Now to do so, there's of course the bolts that are holding the bell housing to the engine, but we also got all the hoses. We got the hoses for the brakes, we have the hoses for the clutch, and of course we have the hoses for the oil reservoir, so the in and out. So that's a little bit of work, and it's not something you do in 5 minutes. So here we have our space frame, and as you can see there's a bolt there which is holding up the actual bell housing, which is at the same time the oil reservoir. Very rigid and solid. So this is the side where the bolt broke off, and you can see the part of the bolt is still sitting inside this casting here. All right. Next up is to disconnect the brake hose. This is coming from the front, so I'm going to disconnect that. I'm trying to hold it. Yeah, got it. Well, that was not that tight. So this connection is really a difficult one, because the nut in the middle, where I should put my small wrench on, is kind of rounded off already. And also we're going to tape this off. Now we're going to disconnect the hoses that are feeding the oil. Okay. So this is the pipe that is feeding the oil to the pump. All right. I got the starter motor disconnected, so now I can take the shaft out. I've disconnected all the hoses, both for the brakes and the oil. Also the starter motor is disconnected. We drained all the liquids, so now we should be good to start splitting off the casing from the engine. So I'm going to jack up the rear side a little bit, so I take the load off the springs, because otherwise it's going to be a bit of an issue if I don't do so. So that should be sufficient up to make them loose enough so I can disconnect them. And I'm also going to take off the connection to the anti-roll bar, so that will make. You know, when I started this, I told you that this is quite a job to do, and now you see why that is. Now, the bolt to get the shock absorbers out is all the way on the bottom here, so luckily it's a self-threading bolt, in the sense that it actually has threaded inside the casting, so there's no nut on it on the other side. So now that the bolt is removed, I should be able to get out the shock absorbers. So now what I'm most likely going to do is to use my engine lift to lift this whole part up the way we need to support it. The engine lift is now supporting the rear part that we're going to take off. And the rest of the car has already been supported by some pieces of wood underneath. So the last bolt is going out, which is the space frame to the casting. So we've removed the casting and the differential and the gearbox of the engine. Now that we have the engine split from the gearbox, it's maybe also time to look at the clutch. And the reason I'm saying that is because, as you might have seen in previous videos, this race car has an extremely hard clutch. So maybe something is wrong with the clutch pressure plate. The clutch is operated by a master cylinder, and this is the master clutch cylinder. And this is actually a 1-inch bore inside. You can get them in different bores. There's also a slave cylinder, which is near to the clutch. And of course you have the clutch pressure plate, which I will show you in a few minutes. Now you can reduce the master clutch cylinder to a smaller bore so that it becomes easier to depress the clutch or to disengage the clutch. So the smaller the bore, the easier it is to disengage the clutch. But you get less displacement, and at some moment in time you may not have enough displacement. Now in my case, what I've done on this car is I changed the 1-inch to a 0.6, which is already half of it almost, and it still is a very hard clutch. So something else must be not right. So let's have a look on the clutch pressure group, because maybe something is wrong there, or maybe even the slave clutch cylinder. So what we have here is the clutch pressure plate and the clutch disc itself. And you can see on the top we got springs, and these springs need to be depressed to disengage the clutch. If you depress these springs or these fingers, then this circular disc here in thick metal will actually go down. And if it goes down, it's going to disengage the clutch because the clutch plate is right on top of it. On this side, it's going to touch the flywheel. So if the clutch is engaged, then the springs in the pressure group are pushing this ring upwards and squeezing the disc in between the engine or the flywheel and the disc. So in other words, we have grip, and a lot of grip. The springs that you see here is just to prevent shocks once you're shifting gear. But then again, if you're looking back on these fingers here, they can come in different strengths because you have engines with a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque, and some cars are very heavy. So you're going to need a lot of pressure between the pressure group onto the disc and onto the flywheel so that the clutch doesn't slip once you accelerate or when you're towing heavy weights. And that is why you will find those pressure groups in different strengths. And if you put in the wrong strength, of course, then you're going to have a bit of an issue because you may not be able to depress it. And I think this is the problem on this race car. We're going to have a look what they fitted on it. This is a typical Pinto enforced pressure group. It's a type MF242. So this should be good enough. This is from one of my other cars. But let's have a look what we have on the race car that we have in the back, the RF-85. And I suspect it will be something different. So this is the pressure group which is mounted on the RF-85. And as you can see, the fingers already look different. And the type is in MF215, so it's a different type. So what we're going to do now is to remove it, and then we compare it, and we also have a look on the clutch, what kind of a clutch is inside. I don't know if it's a race clutch or not, so we need to unbolt a couple of these bolts, and then we should be good to go. Alright, that should be it. And I think they should be able to come off now. There we go. Not too many grooves, so that's good because sometimes you get deep grooves and then you really need to rework the flywheel. And the disc, as you can see, is a standard disc, but I need to check it out exactly, but I think it has had its best time because I see the rivets is getting pretty close to the surface. So it was about time to change the disc anyway. So let's see if we can figure out that type or number. This should be the number right here. So yes, with this we can work. I've looked up the numbers that we have on this pressure plate, which is a type MF215, and then there's some numbers on it. And this is actually a pressure plate which is typically fitted to a Porsche, not to a Ford Escort or any of those Pinto engine based cars. And that's why most likely this is so tough to depress. You can also see how many of these fingers we have here. And look at that one, how that one is sticking out. That certainly is no good. They all should be flat. So this pressure plate certainly is no longer any good. It's probably too heavy on the springs, and it has some damage on it, and you can see the wear and tear that we have on these fingers here. So the next thing we need to do is to fix the oil leak that we have between the differential housing and actually the bell housing. And therefore I have to take the whole block apart. I already have disconnected the upright on the left. I disconnected the drive shaft. So the next thing we're going to do is the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to take off the upper wishbones and the supports. And then eventually I will be able to remove that whole bell housing enclosure, because it's a big thing. It's more than just a bell housing, off the gearbox, and then we can actually get to that seal that we need to fix, and also fix the broken off bolt. So that's one. I'm just removing now the lower wishbones, or at least get them loose. And now the next thing is to remove the drive shaft. I have to say the other side went a little bit more smooth. You know, race cars, there's always something with it, especially when they get older, because they are subject to a lot of forces and a lot of abuse often. You know, in the heat of the fight on the track, you do sometimes things you shouldn't be doing. So now I should get this removed. The top bolt is removed, so now we can most likely remove the whole unit. Pull this to the side. Yep. I think I still need to cut off here an attachment so I can release the brake cable. It's just a tie wrap, isn't it? Yep. Now I can see that there's already an insert in this, so somebody already had to retread this before, so it's not the first time. Yeah, I think I will need a pipe for this. So all that should now be loose, and I should be able to take this off. So now we're going to disconnect the remaining part, which is disconnecting the differential housing from the bell housing. I have 2 bolts here, there's a couple of bolts there, there's 2 more bolts on the bottom, and some bolts here. So I need to undo all these bolts, and then normally I should be able to get out the gearbox and the differential housing. With all the bolts removed, I should now be able to split this apart. That's better. Okay, here we go. Put this aside. So now that everything is split apart, we can start to replace the parts. First of all, on the gearbox, we have this seal on the prime axle. This is the one that leaks a bit and it moves around a bit, so this seal is worn out. This is a replacement seal that we will put in. I'm not going to put it in now, this will be for the next video, but this is one of the things we'll have to do. This enclosure is what we call the bell housing, and it also contains the oil reservoir, but it also has an embedded slave cylinder for the clutch. It's pretty weird, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. So while we are at it, we might as well inspect that one and maybe even have it reconditioned. And then the other thing we need to do is to drill out this bolt here that broke off, and then maybe we might have to retap the thread inside. So let me show you that clutch, because that's pretty weird. So let me show you that first of all from the back, and here you have it. In the back we actually have the piston here, which is pushing forward the clutch. In fact, it pushes on the pressure plate of the clutch. Pretty weird. And on these two connections we are having our flex hoses. Very strange indeed, and I'm going to take it out now so we can have a look, and then you can actually see what this is all about. So I'm going to knock it out gently, and as you can see, I'm using a soft hammer. Let me turn this around so you can see it a bit better from this side. It's a little bit tough to get it off, but we get it off. So this is the bearing that is pushing against the pressure plate for the clutch. And this bearing is still in a good condition, so I'm just going to take it off. And here you can actually see that a slave cylinder. Very strange indeed, but let's see if we can get it further out. And here it is. This is actually the piston. So the oil is sitting right here and it's pushing against this edge, and that's all there is to it. And if you have a problem with this, you have to take the whole car apart, which is not really something you really want to do too often. So I'm taking the opportunity now to have that reconditioned and inspected. I think actually the piston looks still quite good. There's a few little scratches on it, but that's almost nothing. But inside we've got the seals. So we got 1, 2, and 3 seals, and you can actually see the little hole. That hole is actually feeding in the brake fluid for the clutch, and it's going to push that piston forward just on that edge right here. Very strange. So I'm going to change out these seals with new seals, and then we should be good to go. So we got spare parts, and let's see what we have. So this is a brand new piston, very similar to the one we just got out. So I actually will replace it with the new one, because I do have a new one, so why would I not replace it? And the seals are also with it, so these are the seals that I need to put in. There's different seals that need to go in. I got, how many do we got here? A couple of them. I don't know if I have the back seal actually, but I hope I do. Got some more seals here. So yeah, we'll see when I take them out which is the right seal to put in. I think these are the right seals anyway, so this is something we'll certainly do. We also got a bearing that we could use, and this is actually that bearing that we already looked for. So it's a little bit thinner, I think, but it's certainly going to be usable. It makes less noise. It sounds good. This one makes more noise, right? So, all right. So there we are. We've come to the end of this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now in the next video we're going to replace all these parts with new parts. Now I can't do it right now because some of them are still in order, and once I have them we will make the next video where we're going to put it all back together, get it all renewed, get it all cleaned up, and put it all back onto the car and see how the clutch is working, see if the leaks are gone, and so on. Thank you for viewing. Bye bye.